The Laundrymen, Reclaimed Heritage, part of the Bundle Tales series of novels, includes The Laundrymen and The Scouter. Chapter 1, Noke. Vic was in a mood. He was conflicted. On one hand, he was grateful that his illegitimate son was raised by maternal relatives. On the other, he couldn't stand the latter's values and outlook of the world throughout his childhood had been largely polluted by his greedy weasel of a cousin. He knew looking to change the past was ridiculous, but he would look at Dury, the weasel cousin, and see to himself about what a worm he is, and how he'd like to drown him in the nearest source of water, so as to get the son he found out the existence of, short of a year ago, away from him. Even if he ended up in foster care, he was confident that he could handle himself. The Sprog's mother was walking the streets when the Chinese, the North Koreans, and the Americans were splitting Incheon in two. Tough, independent women were hard to come by, not just in the 50s, but in the Far East in general. His Korean Kiwi offspring would have the toughness and the shrewdness of both his parents. "I'm going to make you disappear one day, you bloody Noke." Noke. Vic was raised Talala, descendants of Croatians and the Maori. Noke, a Maori word, meant worm. That's what he nicknamed that arse-pissed Dury. He couldn't stand how the ugly midget had manipulated the boy with guilt trips based on relation. Perhaps he was simply biding his time, learning and learning, till he could tell that Noke to fuck off one day and cut ties with him. But cutting ties is harder than cutting the Gordian knot, an almost Herculean monumental feat. As one dislikes to admit, there's the anxiety over rejection, or being disowned, or simply being called ungrateful by the ones that brought them up. Vic knew that all too well. But what the fuck did they know about caring for your own? Hiding behind loyalty. Fuck 'em. I found love in my own way, and I fucked that too. Vic also wondered from time to time, in brooding moments like this, alone with motivational yet sickening existential thoughts, whether or not he was truly destined for the great white cloud. The idea of heaven that his maternal, paternal Maori ancestors passed down to his great-grandmother, was she herself among the deities of that pantheon? His own father, in his case, quite unlikely. His mother? Fuck it if he had the foggiest, but he presumed even less so. He could hear her in his mind, "Oh, in this, oh, in fucking that." Christ, he cringed at being called that. Perhaps it didn't matter, either way, since he was almost certain there's no way back to your former life from such a place. But a thought occurred to him. Technically, he was a deadbeat dad, and on the flip side of the countless afterlives, as there is a heaven in a majority of belief systems, then there's also a hell. And whether or not it was his way of trying to redeem himself to his estranged son, he would gladly send the boy's turd of a cousin to a death so terrible that he would be pleading to be swallowed up by whatever forces govern whatever hell he was destined for. Yet another thought occurred to Vic. Perhaps it wouldn't be smart in the long run to just make Dury the Noke suffer and disappear. At least, not in the nearest future. He started to ponder. Dury was a worm, and even worms had their uses, when it came to the apple that started to form in Vic's mind. Vic, like Dury, survived by cunning, similar but different methods and traits of cunning, but cunning all the same. They also both had their variants of charm. Dury, though South Korean, was like that of a Taiwanese businessman, able to worm his way in with his stout stature and endearing takeaway smile. Vic was of an intimidating aura, which, used in tandem with his dogged, patient determination, to the point of obsession, was a cocktail that would get to the head of the most self-assured, uppity businesswoman. Vic would destroy Dury, but he would use his talents along with his own to craft a short but sweet budding business empire, and when the little bastard felt secure enough, felt like the king of Incheon, probably mock-affecting an air of Christopher Walken, the iconic fake WAP gangster, he would rip it all away from him, and flush him until there was no trace of him. End chapter.